MP Adams, you have your 20 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. I certainly wanted to start my contribution this evening on a lighter note and know that you and I share similarities in our support for our cup match team. You know very well how deeply rooted I am and my family is up in the Somerset area. And so we certainly look to keep the cup in the next few weeks. Mr. Speaker, I also want to acknowledge and congratulate the minister who spoke before me, Minister Furbett, on her contribution this evening, because she certainly articulated a lot of the work that is being done within her ministry. And I can certainly attest to being, as a person in the room, her passion for seniors and her work for the ministry. And certainly it is recognized, and certainly I would say that is a job well done. But Mr. Speaker, my contribution today is sort of wanting to recognize that as each of us on either side of the aisle can attest to, is that when you enter politics, you can expect to be criticized both inside and outside of Parliament. It makes sense because the decisions we make affect the lives of taxpayers, and so they're scrutinized and, quite frankly, deservedly so. As a constituent once said to me, when it comes to politics and criticism, it just simply comes with the territory. When you couple that with the fact that we are in the middle of unprecedented times, it is no surprise that the scrutiny is dialed up that much more. Mr. Speaker, it bears repeating that we are in unprecedented times. As a country, we have been spending more than we have been receiving for almost 20 consecutive years. We have reached a point where we simply cannot afford to keep doing so. Industry experts, both within government and outside of government, within Bermuda and outside of Bermuda, all say that we're at a point where we cannot afford to borrow anymore. Mr. Speaker, this is happening at the same time country is left to deal with the effects of a once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic. So the government finds itself at a juncture when it cannot afford to borrow anymore, and the people of Bermuda are asking and require more relief. But Mr. Speaker, we have not shied away from the task. We were elected on strong leadership. That is exactly what we will deliver. The discipline to remain fiscally prudent, to get us back to a balanced budget, has never been more critical. In order to do so, we all know that we have to tighten our belts. There will be instances where we have to say no when other administrations have said yes. There are times when we will have to make unpopular decisions. So we understand why some are frustrated. Mr. Speaker, we cannot then ignore the fact that much of the criticism is also based in political bias. Sensationalized headlines, a desire to spread a juicy rumor rather than seek the facts. There are those that are so anti-PLP that if we were to say that the sky is blue, there would be comments in the blogs under particular articles to say that we were crazy. We have a particular media forum that is clearly not interested in balanced reporting and are committed to a daily onslaught of sensationalized rhetoric. We then have those that simply love to gossip and spread rumors and believe that because they received it in a WhatsApp forward, that somehow, therefore, it must be true. Mr. Speaker, the Progressive Labor Party did not sign the Morgan's Point deal, did not sign the Skyport Minimum Revenue Guarantee Arrangement or the Cross Island Loan. The PLP did not start the global pandemic. We did not start the war in Ukraine. We did not cause inflation rates to rise, particularly in the US. Mr. Speaker, these are a result of decisions and actions made by others that this government inherited, all of which have had a profoundly negative impact on our economy, employment, cost of living, resources, and so on. However, as a government, we have committed to working tirelessly to navigate this country through these unprecedented times. Mr. Speaker, the point of my contribution today is to first acknowledge that we understand, as politicians, we will be criticized. We understand the political climate we're in, but it is important that we remove the noise. We remove the political bias and respect an independent assessment of this government's performance so that we can have an honest depiction of where we are and how we're doing. So, Mr. Speaker, how are we doing? Well, before I answer, I will remind the public that in October of last year, the opposition leader publicly stated that the credentials of rating agencies S&P and Moody's were impeccable and have stood the test of time. Those are not my words. The opposition leader said that S&P and Moody's, the credentials of S&P and Moody's, were impeccable and stood the test of time. He then went on to refer to them as the gold standard of international credit rating agencies. Mr. Speaker, I took those words from the opposition leader and asked myself, what does the gold standard of international credit rating agencies have to say about this government? Mr. Speaker, 2 months ago, S&P reported that economic recovery is underway in Bermuda and will continue during the forecast horizon. They went on to say that they believe Bermuda can and is willing to implement reforms to ensure the long-term sustainability of public finances. Mr. Speaker, that could just be one. So I took the time to also read what Moody's, yet another gold standard rating agency, had to say about the performance of this government. Just a few weeks ago, Moody's reported that in the coming 2 to 3 years, they expect fiscal performance will be supported by the recovery in economic activities. They said that they expect growth performance to regain momentum, supporting a gradual downward trajectory in government debt. Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is this. Criticism, as my constituent said, comes with the job. And in a free and democratic society, criticism is also welcomed. Constructive criticism helps us as a government to do better. And whilst I accept that we are not perfect and have made mistakes along the way, but if you remove the emotive language and the biased opinions, just as S&P and Moody's have, you will see that economic recovery is underway. Mr. Speaker, I will close with this. After almost 20 years of consecutive deficits, to then face having to honor an entire Morgan's Point guarantee, to then be tasked with navigating through COVID, the government had to prioritize fiscal prudence. We had to get our house in order, if you will, to then provide capacity to provide relief to the people during these difficult times. I've already received so much positive feedback from the relief package. I am now re-energized to get back to work so that we can do more. But beyond that, Mr. Speaker, I'm re-energized when I think about the introduction of a new fully licensed bank that will help create more competition in the market. I think about the proven growth in the local fintech industry that is producing jobs in this country. I think of the update the Minister of Tourism gave earlier today, reporting the healthy improvement in our tourism figures. And it then becomes clear we are on an upward trajectory of economic growth. And I can assure the public that we will remain true to our word when we say the better we perform, the more relief we will provide, scrutiny and all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, MP. Does any other member wish to make a contribution?